Hello, my name is Roland Acosta and welcome back to another edition of Intercultural Competence. On today's edition we'll be talking about phonology, semantics, and syntax in a language different from our American English. We're going to be discussing the language of Japan, which is Japanese. We'll also take a look at some nonverbal communication that Japanese use as well towards the end of the segment. So let's get started. What do you say? Okay, so in our first example, let's talk about phonology. Phonology is the pronunciation of words, and in this example we have the word watashi, which means me. You also see that they have a pitch accent going up on the SHI, watashi. It's hard to detect at first, but if you listen close, you'll notice it. We'll start low, we'll stay middle, and then we'll go high on the SHI, which is she. Watashi, and that means me. Let's take a look at another word, okay? For our phonology example number 2, let's take a look at the word anata. Anata means you. So we start off low. Anata. Anata. So we start off low, we go to the accent part towards the NA, and they lower it with the TA. That's called pitch accent, okay? So that's our first example for phonology. Let's move on to our next topic. It's going to be semantics, okay? So for semantics, we're going to use the word mimi, or ear. Semantics means the study or meanings of words. So semantics means you can have one word and multiple meanings. And in this case, that's exactly what we have here. Mimi also means an ear-shaped object handles on a vase or a jar. It could also mean crust or a piece of bread crust. Okay? So those are 3 examples right there of the word mimi. And that's where the word semantics comes from. Okay? We good with that? Let's continue on to our next example. Our third topic, we're going to be talking about syntax, which is really the building blocks of a sentence and words. So in English, syntax is called an SOV structured sentence, which means subject, verb, and object. Okay? So you see, I is a subject, ate is a verb, and object is the apple. I ate an apple. This is an American version, or the English version, and it's a SVO structured sentence or word. Okay? Let's take a look at a different example. Let's see how that works in Japan or Japanese. Here's our syntax example for a Japanese structured word, which is SOV. SOV is going to be subject, object, and verb. So, watashi, ringo, tabemashita. That means I, apple, ate. So you see how it's different from English? Again, let's take a look at that. Watashi, ringo, tabemashita. I, apple, ate. So you see the subject, the object, which is apple, and then ate, which is a verb. That's how syntax works in Japan. Okay? Let's move on to a little bit of fun. Let's move on to some nonverbal communication in Japan, okay? Are you ready for our first example? We're going to use our hands for this. So our first example, we're going to get our index fingers and we're going to go like this. You want to take a guess at what that word means in Japanese? This means fighting. So if you take an example like it's a sword, like in the samurai days of sword fighting, you're fighting like this, that means that people are fighting. Okay? Let's take a look at another example of nonverbal communication. You bring the hands together like this, and slightly bow your head. We'll do it again. What's your guess? Well, if you guessed, I'm sorry, you are correct. Or please. I'm sorry. Or please, would you do that for me? Would you do me a favor? Okay? Our next example is going to be the finger, the index finger, to the nose. Index finger to the nose. And then we're going to say, watashi? Watashi? That means, who, me? Who, me? Okay. Another example we're going to have is going like this. In Japanese culture, when you go like this means that the person you are talking about or the person you're talking with is engaging in gossip. Okay? Another example of nonverbal communication is getting the hands and going like this. Again, we keep one hand lower than the other and bring it up. You want to take a guess at what that means? That means ghost. In nonverbal communication in Japan, that means ghost. Okay? Our last example is going to be the arm stretched out and then going like this with the hand. Again, arm stretched out and waving the hand like this. You want to take a guess what that means? That means come here in Japanese. You're calling somebody. Come here in Japanese. Okay? So now it's time for us to end this, and we're going to do it with one more. We're going to go like this. In Japanese, that means it's time for us to go away. Okay, so that's our last example. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Intercultural Competence. We'll see you on the next one. Have a good day.